Alright, so now welcome to our next lesson, which is the hundredths. Make sure you put today's date. And remember from our last lesson that if we're going this way on the place value chart to the right, we're going to be dividing by 10. If we're going to the left this way, we're multiplying by 10 because as we're going from here to here to here, the number gets bigger. But when we're going the other way, the number is getting smaller. So let's think about that same scenario that we had from the tenths video. And you remember that the tenths is our first decimal place that we learned from the last video. So let's say that this flat, same thing again, has a value of 1 whole. That this is a whole thing. And our question is, how many units will it take to cover the flat? Well, right here is a unit. And as we can see, they would take 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So it'll take 100 unit cubes. So it's going to be 100 units So 100 units to cover this whole flat. So it's going to take 100 of those. And why? Because each one of these has a value that is 1/100th or 0 and 100th. You remember from our last video that this is the fraction, and this is the decimal. And also remember from our last video that a decimal is a fraction with the denominator of 10, 100, or 1,000. And today, last time we talked about the tenths, and today we're going to be talking about the hundredth. Because remember from our last video, very important, that the decimal point in a number means and. Because remember, you have some wholes and you have some small pieces that do not make up a whole. So now remember, our new period on our place value chart is now our decimal place. You remember we already had decimals, and remember, let me highlight the hundreds because that's what we're talking about today. And you remember that this is and. That means and. So let's look at a couple of examples. Remember guys, we're going to do plenty of examples over the next few days with this. So, So we'll have plenty of practice. So let's say that we have this number right here. 13 decimal 0.04. Well, how would we say that? Well, that would be 13. Decimal point means and 4 hundredths. Well, how will we put that in expanded form? Okay, well, the 10 is 10 decimal 00 plus 3 decimal 00 plus 0 decimal 00 plus 0 decimal 04. Now remember, we can also write it like this. Let me change colors. And if we do the same thing that we always do, which is circle our number, that now we have our number in standard form. 13 and 400ths. And I know what y'all saying. Well, how will we write that if we had a number in the 10th place? Well, glad you asked. So let's knock out one of those. Let's say that we had 4 and 43. So let me erase this so that we can write that number with some tenths on there instead of just hundreds. Back to my pen. Well, word form, we will say that that is 4 and 43 hundredths. Because we have to remember, when we say a number, we say the whole number, and the whole number is all in here, because we have tenths and hundreds together. When we have tenths and hundreds together, we have to say hundreds, because we have 43 hundredths. Now, expanded form, 4.00 plus 0.40 plus 0.03, or just like this, 4 and you remember, we can do the same thing to get that number in standard form. And that is the end of our lesson. Stay tuned for our next lesson, which is decimals as money.